Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. Special guest back on the show, Megan. How you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to have you back. So
Always.
I thought I'd do a short notice to get you on the show to talk about Mental Health Day, International Day. Um, Tell me why is Mental Health Day so important to
I
you?
think I think it's important to raise awareness, to be honest, and to bring awareness into something that has in the past been so taboo, and still to this day people are failed by the system in terms of their mental health. Um, so I think to have a day of recognition, to bring awareness around that, is going to be an important factor in helping people to not feel so alone when they are battling with their own mental health, as most of us do, especially living in the world today as we know it. I feel like we don't really live in a world that supports the nervous system and the human body in the way that it should. So I feel like it's important that we find some sense of unity in that fact, because a lot of people can feel alone and not know how to deal with their mental health, and not know how to actually move through that. And I do
Mm,
feel like it is an internal process. It's something that we need to um, find within, find the strength within, and find that pillar of trust within to move through. Because sometimes the external is not reliable and can let you down. So yeah, I've gone off on a tangent there, but I do think like just to have a day to acknowledge that is so important, because so many people feel alone and they don't know where to turn when it comes to mental health.
100%. What do you do for your own mental health to keep yourself in check? And
Many things, to be honest. I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. That is amazing for my mental health. I could be feeling really like just not good in my body, and I like to accept what I'm feeling always anyway, but when I go to the gym it helps me to move that energy, and 9 times out of 10 I come out of that gym in a completely different mind state to when I went in. I also make sure I nourish myself with good food. I take vitamins and supplements. I take herbal remedies to support my nervous system. I take probiotics and immune system things, all sorts of things to just support myself. I go out in nature. I make sure I get up, each day at a certain time so that I'm in a routine. I drink lots of water and I'm kind to myself. I think like it's important to have the physical and the external and the internal. So you're supporting yourself like all round,
yeah, I hear that.
every mind state to be accepted as something to be nourished and loved by you, regardless of how it feels in your body and how uncomfortable it is. And I think like all of these things, they come into play, and essentially in the bigger picture, creates a solid support system. I think also having a support system, which I do have as well, is really important. I'm very blessed to have that.
Definitely.
Yeah, all of these things, like they all come into play and they all create like a really solid container to hold you in life, basically.
100%. Thank you very much, Megan. Thank you. World Mental Health Day. What does
The
that
big
mean
one.
to you, and why is it so important?
It means everything because it is everything. It's such a small word, but it means so many different things. And it's like, obviously, with timing, you can't even dive deep into mental health. But personally, to me, it's that place of either in your inner world, in it, where you're happy, you're sad, it's whatever you're feeling, and it's based upon your reality and everything that you've been through and you're going through. And for me, I find it's really important because, especially with the pandemic, everyone's
Mm,
going through something and it's got people in such a dark place. And it's important to bring more awareness to it so we can get the support, we can get that awareness, and everyone can be heard and seen, and we can help change people's life and make that impact that needs to be made.
Talk to me about, when you first started being aware of mental health and the importance to keep that in check with yourself.
Well, I think when I was in my teens, because at that point I had like a mental breakdown
All
because
right.
I was just like blocking out a lot of pain and hurt that I was going through at the time. And you got the peer pressure, things coming from society, you got pressure from your family, and then obviously like accepting the death of my dad, even though he died when I was 2, it was really difficult because I blocked it out and I was just trying to mask all the pain that I was going through, like growing up and missing that. So that's when I first became aware of it, but I didn't do anything about it because at the time you don't see how severe and serious it can actually get. So the first time I actually worked on it was probably I'd say a year or 2 years ago. Yeah. And like now I'm going to be 32 this month. So that's a long time. But now I've obviously opened up. When I had a confidence coach, I learned about mindfulness and all these other tools and practices to really help tap into my mental health. And then it made me dive deeper into it to understand myself and make a change.
Yeah, no, that's important. Thank you very much. So, World Mental Health Day. What does that mean to you, Scott? Why is that important?
Well, for me, I think mental health is very important because it's the enemy that you can't see. It's like they normally say, like a man's worst enemy is his own thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to put awareness to that because in like a tough society that we live in, it's like a taboo subject. It's like a person, they could be all smiley faces, but you don't know what's going on the inside. Look at people like Robin Williams, Gary Speed. Gary Speed was on Football Focus like the day before. You wouldn't think nothing's wrong with him. They commit suicide. So there's always that terror within, man. Says we got to keep awareness to that because at the end of the day, people need to know that there's people out there to help them. You know what I mean? There's always a shoulder to cry on, man.
100%. So how do you keep your own mental health in check? And on top of that,
I try to do like meditation, like silent meditations. See the thoughts that come into my head, and not necessarily try to block them out, but try to understand and just so I can isolate them and then sort them out, man. Because at the end of the day, there's like over 70,000 thoughts you have every day. Yeah. So you really need to like mental health is 100% important, man.
Yeah, 100%. Talk to me. World Mental Health Day.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? What's the importance of this day to you?
For me, it's huge, like really, really huge. To have it while I was growing up would have made, I hope, a massive difference on kind of the way my life would have turned out. When I was young, it wasn't mentioned, it wasn't talked about. So I kind of knew nothing about it. Mental health to me was a straitjacket being carted off to a mental institute, and that was that. You were either okay or you were insane, and that was my only kind of definition of mental health. So I think for people nowadays, the awareness of it is just huge to understand the importance, but also understand that it's not a massive big deal, mental health, but that everybody has it, and it's the way we look after our mental health is the importance of it. So I have a teenage daughter who struggles a bit with anxiety and things, and so we speak about it a lot in our house, whereas when I was her age, it wasn't spoken about at all. So
totally get that, but I had the same type of upbringing and experience with mental health at first hand, just seeing the first examples of it. Yeah, definitely. So I'm with you on that, and kind of it's great that we got to this point now where it's there and the help you can get, and people, we want people to be a lot more open about speaking about how they're feeling and that.
Oh, absolutely, and not be afraid that you're going to get judged if you're struggling, and I think still in our generation and older, it's just not spoken about, and it's not acceptable to kind of be struggling, that the right thing to do is being all happy and life's perfect. But anyone who's experienced, you know, mental health issues understands that life isn't perfect. It's what you make it. And, you know, until you get that kind of encouragement or help, and you know, help is okay. Some people, you know, I've had help with my mental health because I got to the point where I couldn't go on. You know, it's okay for the help to then understand it, recognize it, and learn to live with it, but also in a healthy way.
Yeah, definitely. So how's your mental health today? How
Really good. If you'd asked me a year ago how my mental health was, I probably would have broken down in a mess and kind of said it's kind of really bad. I did get therapy. I've been doing some coaching, learning about mindset, and it's really good. Don't get me wrong. Once you have help with mental health, it's not a cure as such. You know, the only person that can truly help you is you.
Yeah.
And helping yourself. So it's learning to manage it, to put yourself first, to recognize it and do the right things in order to help. So self-care, self-love is really, really important. And this week, I've had a week of it actually, where I've kind of forgotten a little bit about myself. I've been feeling really good and was kind of just rolling with it, but then suddenly forgot to put the work in. And once you forget to put the work in, you slowly feel yourself slip. And I woke up yesterday and I was like, uh-oh, come on, pick yourself back up, do the things that kind of, you know, make you feel good. So I went for a bike ride, a little bit of self-care, and just been a little bit kinder to myself. And I've woken up today feeling really good. So
great to hear.
Yeah,
Great
it's
to
all
hear.
about finding the balance in life.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
you're very welcome.
Well, I think mental health is important because of just the reality that we all experience mental health in some degree or another. Some people, of course, have, you know, depression, or they have bipolar, or they have, you know, a diagnosable thing. Other people don't. But I think it's that awareness of where is our mental health on a day-to-day basis. That's an important question.
Yeah, 100%. So how do you keep your own mental health in check?
I would say for me, a lot of it is being conscious of what I'm thinking about,
Yeah.
because I can get caught up in so-and-so didn't email me back. Oh my God, what's going on? Did I do something? And that affects your mental health, because then you're overthinking and you're really thinking about something that's not real, because you don't have control over what somebody's doing or saying anyway. So if you don't hear anything back, how are you going to realistically assume that you know what they're thinking and doing? You don't. So I think just having a consciousness of, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Let me make sure this is real and not something I'm making up in my head because I have a feeling of worry or whatever. So just being conscious.
Cool. So World Mental Health Day.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you?
Well, it's important to me because I've had my own mental health battles. I think most people have, and a lot of people don't talk about it enough, and it's very taboo still, even now. And I think if more people talk about it and more awareness is brought to it, there would be less shame involved with it. And when you get rid of shame, then you can get down to kind of like solving the issue, or, you know, addressing the issue versus hiding it, you know? And so it's important to me because I like talking about my mental health issues in the past. I've had suicidal thoughts for maybe a decade or more. And I just remember how alone I felt and how hopeless I felt. And then I look at how I feel now today and how it's been like a 180, way different. And it's important to me to like reach out to the people who are currently in that state of hopelessness, helplessness, and feeling like it's time to just end it and like somehow be like, there, just hang on a little bit longer. Things can change, things can get better. But even like, you know, I think 10 years ago,
Yeah.
especially in my culture and Korean culture, if you go to a therapist or if you talk, it's like very, very more taboo. I think America has gotten more open about it, but like just culturally in Korean culture, growing up with it, it was like when anyone suggested to my parents, maybe your daughter should go see therapy, it was like, oh no, she's not crazy. Like, you know, so
Yeah.
that's why it's important to me that we have more awareness for this issue, because it doesn't mean you're crazy if you have certain, it's just like any physical illness, right? I deeply believe that it can be healed and it can pass, right? I don't think if you get a diagnosis, it's for life, forever. I think it can be manageable, and even people can be healed from it completely, right? So, but the first step is awareness. If we're like, if it's taboo, if we're not talking about it, if it's hidden, then we can't really start, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the beginning, is like just having that day brings awareness to it. So that's why it's important to me, because of my own issues, and I can really empathize with people in like that have that, you know.
Yeah. So
especially suicidal.
how are you keeping your own mental health in check?
So a lot of things. I'm highly more aware now, and I've done a lot of inner work. I'm still doing a lot of inner work. For me, it came with a lot of spiritual like awakening, spiritual like wisdom, and mainly it's awareness, right? So being aware and getting in touch with my body. So like being aware, like, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. Whereas before I didn't know I was feeling anxious. I would just be like, I feel like I want to die, you know, and I would just identify. So now it's like I've gotten able to like have a little gap between the feelings, and I'm noticing, okay, my heart is racing, my body feels low energy. So just being aware helps me to maintain and manage. So like I right now get coached by a trauma informed coach. So a lot of the mental illness comes from past traumas that were not ever dealt with in childhood. I also go to acupuncture once a week to make sure my body's and my chi and everything is aligned. I stay on top of watching the foods I eat. I mean, I still eat sugar, stuff like that. Sorry about the phone ringing. The sugar, stuff like that, but I keep on top of my diet and try not to spin too out of control. Also now, like when I have emotions and feelings, I'm learning not to repress them, because I think repressing emotions is really what causes a lot of depression and mental illness. Because from a young age, we're never taught how to process these like heavy emotions and like get them out of our body. So they get stuck, and then we get sick. Physically and mentally, we get sick because they're just stuck in there in your subconscious and your body everywhere, right? So I manage by doing everything, mind, body, spirit, like constantly every day. I wouldn't say it's a battle, it's more like an enjoyment, something that like it's like every day I'm like, okay, where is Hannah at today? What's the level at? Like, what does Hannah need today? Okay, Hannah needs more rest. Maybe a week ago Hannah had lots of energy, but today that's not it. So we got to match today's energy. We can't compare. So it's like day by day, just taking it day by day.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.